Hey folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am happy you're here, as I always am. Now, if you've listened to the show before, you know I'm big on having the nervous system and the brain working properly. So I've never done a show on the worst foods that you could eat for your brain. Now, I've covered them generally, but we're going to focus specifically on brain foods, or anti-brain foods, we'll call them. And this is important because people come to me all the time, whether it's personal or professional or family, whatever, and they will say, I just don't feel good today. I got brain fog. I had a senior moment. And a lot of times those things are self-induced. You did it to yourself, and you don't see why until you actually keep a journal or do some research on yourself. So with any health issue, I always say keep a journal. It's really important. I have headaches. When do I have headaches? Well, let's do a journal. Let's find out when the headaches pop up, and you might find out that it's from some of the foods we're going to talk about today. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're anxious. Maybe you're sad. Maybe you're happy. You can chart what works and what doesn't, and then be very objective in monitoring your healthcare, especially your emotions, because emotions are so tied into food. So people eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. I see people all the time, Dr. Joe, I had fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Might be some little organic tofu. And those are all good moves. But then you may be doing things that are not good for the brain. Like I said, the anti-brain foods. These, especially as you get older, become more prominent. So what we're going to discuss today, potentially foods that are potentially problematic. Everybody's different. And they should have like zero appearances on your plate. Or if they do, when you eat them, understand, I may not feel good after this. I may be grumpy after this. I may have a mood swing after this. And when you can objectively say, okay, I'm going to eat a donut. It's one of the foods. I'm going to eat a donut. How am I going to feel after that? I'm going to feel horrible. Is it worth eating a donut? You decide. If you don't mind giving up a half a day of your life, don't do it. I remember one time I went to an Indian buffet for lunch many, many years ago, and I ate way too much. And I got home and I laid on my living room floor and I fell asleep. And I woke up and the whole day was ruined. And I thought, it's not worth ruining half a day at this point. It wasn't worth ruining half a day, not be able to go out that night because you felt awful. So you really have to decide, is this going to be worth it? I gave up alcohol. I never was a big drinker, but I stopped drinking alcohol when I was 28 years old because it wasn't worth it. I had a glass of champagne. I was on vacation, had a glass of champagne, felt awful. And I said, I'm done. I'm not willing to sacrifice my valuable time in this life to feel bad. And so you got to make those decisions. So let's go through some of the worst foods that you can do, that you can eat for your brain. Margarine and frostings. Now, who doesn't love frosting? Frosting is the ultimate food as far as I'm concerned. It's fat, it's sugary, it tastes amazing. And frosting, if we could live on frosting, I think we all would. But packaged snack foods, a lot of things that would be considered in the same group as, frostings and margarines. They have something in it called trans fat or hydrogenated oil. And what happens is hydrogenation is a process, and it creates a trans fat. So trans fats aren't good for you. You know that. They're bad for your heart, they're bad for your blood vessels. You've heard that before. And now research is now showing it's going to wreak havoc on your brain. Study from the Journal of Neurology, it's a very prestigious journal, by the way, found that older adults had heightened levels of this one type of acid that's commonly found in trans fats. And the higher the level of this acid in their blood, the higher the risk of dementia. Direct correlation. So I lose my mind many times a day sometimes. And if you've ever been to senior housing or worse, a hospital, what are they feeding these people? Unbelievable junk. Now, I understand a hospital is a business. They got to make money. Okay, they're a for-profit organization, which always makes me laugh when I have a nonprofit. And, I have to chuckle because it's like they have fundraisers for these nonprofit organizations, and yet they have these buildings way nicer than any house I've ever been in. So hospitals are making money. Okay, there's a lot of money to be made in healthcare, well, in hospitals anyway, not in what I do. But we're donating our time, we're volunteering at these places, and then they're taking the patients and they're making them sicker by the food they eat in many cases. And so just be careful as you get older. If you're sick, if you're hospitalized, you have to eat way better, not worse. And that's tough because that's when you're tired, you're grumpy, you want to eat worse. Don't do it. It's not worth giving up your health. Alcohol is another thing that's bad for your brain. I think you knew that already. I don't think you need me to tell you that. But what alcohol does, it affects the communication pathways in the brain, how the brain talks to the other cells in the brain. So the more you drink, of course, the more difficult it is to process, walk, function, remember. So alcohol can leave you confused, make you feel depressed. So alcohol is a diuretic. It's one of the many bad things about alcohol. And if you go to our website, by the way, drjoe.com, if you're interested, I've done a show on each one of the 7 deadly sins of nutrition. You say to yourself, but Dr. Joe, I am new to your shows, and I don't know what the 7 deadly sins of nutrition are. I will tell you. They are alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And all of those are bad for your brain. And you think, but Dr. Joe, I only eat alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. I could not survive without alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And I tell you what I tell everyone, that's not true. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You'll thrive by cutting back or cutting out what I call the 7 deadly sins. So alcohol is a diuretic, which means it makes you pee. And you're flushing out fluid, and the brain needs to float in a bunch of fluid. And as you dehydrate, the brain can actually start to shrink. And that can affect brain function. Also, headaches. That's one of the reasons why you get a hangover. Alcohol will also lower your testosterone level. Testosterone is very important for brain function, not just muscles and sex drive. It's also important for brain function. Alcohol lowers your testosterone level. When you're peeing, right? You ever notice that? You drink 1 beer, you pee out 3. Where those other 2 beers come from? Your body is giving up its own vital fluid to flush the alcohol out of the system. And as the alcohol is being flushed out of the system, it's also flushing out vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. B vitamins are some of the vitamins that are flushed out. You need B vitamins for brain function. And so you're really messing with your health and with your brain every time you drink for multiple reasons. So you really want to cut out the alcohol if you can. Cut back at least. I was talking to, who was it the other day? Oh, that's right. I was out to dinner. A colleague wanted to have dinner with me. He never met me before. And we were talking about alcohol. And he says, yeah, I just like a glass of wine every day. I said, no more wine. And he said, Joe, I've listened to your show. You're right. He said, I can't argue with you. I have no argument. You're absolutely right. He says, you have my commitment. I will cut it out. I have patients all the time say that. Dr. Joe, I just like to have a drink when I get home from work. Not a good idea. And if you want more information, alcohol, just type alcohol in our search bar on the website, drjoe.com. We did a whole, I think, an hour and a half, 2-hour show on alcohol. So, soda and other sugary drinks. I know it sounds like the 7 deadly sins, the things that are bad for your brain. So if you want to keep your brain sharp and you want to stay healthy and vibrant for many, many years to come, cut back or cut out those sugary, not just drinks, but all foods that are made with sugar. Research has found that people who drink a lot of soda, sweet tea, and sugary beverages have more trouble remembering things. That's how sugar works. It messes with the brain. These drinks, they're sweetened with something called high fructose corn syrup. I just saw a show the other day on History Channel. And The Food That Made America. Great series, by the way. The Food That Made America, The Men That Made America, The Cars That Made America. Really great series on the History Channel. And they were talking about cola wars. And they were trying to cut costs between the 2 major soda companies. I won't say their names. And so the one company based in Atlanta came up with this brilliant idea. We can use something called high fructose corn syrup. It was like 3 or 5 times sweeter than sugar and 1/4 of the price. And once they processed it, you couldn't tell the difference between high fructose corn syrup and sugar. That was one of the moves they made to lower costs and, of course, increase profits. It worked very well. Here's the problem. If you're putting a lot of fructose in your body, the fructose has to be converted into something called glucose. Glucose is the fuel that runs your brain. So if you're not giving your body enough glucose, the brain doesn't work very well. So what happens is you eat fructose. Fructose has to be converted into glucose in the liver. And in the process of the conversion, it creates something called uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. And so you can have pain from uric acid buildup. And the most popular, if that's a word, disease associated with uric acid is gout. Uric acid prevents the body from producing nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation to all the organs, including your brain. So if you don't have enough nitric oxide, you may not get enough blood supply to the brain and not enough oxygen to the brain can't work. So you're drinking a sugary drink high in high fructose corn syrup or eating something with high fructose corn syrup, and that's the chemical process. Fructose becomes glucose. Glucose in the process creates uric acid. Uric acid prevents nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide production doesn't allow blood to get nitric oxide. Low nitric oxide prevents blood from getting to the brain, the sex organs, the liver, the spleen, the kidneys, the arms, the legs, and you've got a health problem. health crisis. I shouldn't say problem, health crisis. And also in the process, the liver doesn't work as well. It causes the body to lay down fat, and you get fat. And then fat can lead to heart disease, diabetes, cancer. Big, big issues all the way around. So it's not worth it. The nice part is if you like soda, and I'm not that big a soda fan actually, but if you like soda, you can get soda now sweetened with stevia. And one company is called Zevia. I think Blue Mountain does them as well. There's a couple of companies that now make soda sweetened with stevia. Now, what will happen is, if you've never had this before, you'll taste it and go, it's okay. It's not great. Have a couple. Have one every couple of days or whatever. And within a couple of days, you're going to go, I really like this a lot better than sugar. And then try drinking a sugar drink. And you go, what? It's awful. So it's all about me retraining your brain and retraining your body to get healthy. That's a little trick you can do. Worse than sugar is artificial sweetener. Of all the 7 deadly sins I can teach you, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, the worst one you can put in your body is artificial sweetener. There's a couple of them out there, aspartame, sucralose, saccharin. Aspartame is the big popular one. Aspartame breaks down to aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters. Don't worry about the chemistry. Aspartame is an excitotoxin to the brain. It causes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to. It also affects pancreatic function. You produce insulin when you put artificial sweetener in your body, and there's no sugar for the insulin to work with, and so you start craving carbohydrates. Most people that drink diet soda actually gain weight once they start, not lose it because of the cravings. So artificial sweetener, absolutely positively the worst one of all of them. It also breaks down to methyl esters. Methyl esters is methanol, and methanol is wood alcohol. Wood alcohol, if I were going to give you a glass of wood alcohol and say, here, drink this, I could probably be arrested for attempted murder because wood alcohol is a highly toxic poison. And yet, when you use aspartame, you get small amounts of wood alcohol being produced, and it's a safe level. There is no safe level of wood alcohol. The body has zero need for alcohol, for mercury, for these other things. So I can't imagine why a safe level would even exist because you don't need any of it. And it's toxic at any level. So I would say stay away from those artificial sweeteners, and especially if you want to lose weight and if you want to feel better, you want to live longer, and you want to have a good, healthy brain. So other foods that are bad for your brain. How about fried foods like French fries? I like fried foods. I don't know if there's anyone in the world who doesn't like fried foods. So French fries and donuts and fried pierogies if you're Polish. You have to look that one up if you're not Polish. But fried foods are amazing. They taste great. And they usually have the combination with the holy trinity of foods that cause food addiction. We covered this, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. Sugar, salt, and fat, like a potato chip. Okay, that's the holy trinity of foods that you can't stop eating. But people that ate a lot of fried food, processed food, they tend to fare worse on tests when they measure their thinking skills. Because somewhere, some college did some studies like this and fed the kids a bunch of junk and said, hey, let's take a test, and they didn't do very well. The likely reason, fried foods and fatty foods, you love them, but they cause inflammation, and that can damage the blood vessels that supply the brain and the heart. But also, when you eat a lot of fatty foods, fat has a tendency to clump the red blood cells together, especially trans fats or hydrogenated oils and omega-6 fatty acids. They clump the red blood cells together. Now, why is that important? Red blood cells carry oxygen to your body and your brain. So if the red blood cells are clumped together like a bunch of grapes, they can't carry oxygen. If they can't carry oxygen, you get tired. And it's a real simple test that you can do to prove that Dr. Joe is right. And it's not me, it's just science. One day for lunch, have yourself a big salad. And you could put artichokes in there, artichoke hearts, and lettuce and tomatoes and pickles. And if you want to, anything you like, green salads. Use a dressing that doesn't have any animal fat in it, like an oil and vinegar dressing or something along those lines. I have a real good ginger dressing in a book that I wrote called Eating Right for the Health of It. It's on my website, drjoe.com. Anyway, do a dressing. No animal fats. See how you feel. You can put even some nuts in there, some walnuts, almonds, pecans, just to make you feel a little fuller. Okay? Notice how you feel the rest of the day. Next day, I want you to have a couple slices of cheese pizza, maybe a calzone, something really fatty. You will be falling asleep within, I'd say, minutes after eating it, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. I remember as a student, there was a place, El Ranchero. Was it El Ranchero? Los Reyes. Mexican restaurant not far from the college I went to. And they used to have a lunch. It was like $1.85 or something like that. It was beans and rice and maybe a taco or something like that. And I used to load it up because they put as much cheese as you wanted on it. And I would load up on the cheese and I'd eat as many chips as I could because I was convinced that I was going to get all my money's worth. Well, every time we went to Los Reyes, I wanted to fall asleep in class. The head was bobbing, could not keep my eyes open. And so it took me a while, because I was young and stupid, to realize that the chips are fried and cheese on them. This is when I used to eat normal foods. And I stopped doing it, and I felt better. I didn't fall asleep in class anymore. So realize that if you're eating fatty foods, you're going to want to fall asleep. I don't care who you are, it's going to happen. And if you're a truck driver, that's dangerous. If you're a parent taking care of kids, it's dangerous. So if you want to perform the best you can, you want to make sure you're eating good foods, especially at lunchtime. Pre-COVID days, I did a lot of corporate workshops. Corporations would hire me, and I guess we're going to start doing it again. I'm starting to get corporations are reaching out, asking me to come in and do workshops for them on peak performance, increasing productivity, and always the key really here is food. We talk about water and certain things you can do, brain tricks you can do to keep the brain fresher and working better, but it's so easy and so quick, and these companies save so much money by hiring me because the people start eating better and they're more productive. Less time off work, less sick time, lower medical bills. So there's no reason why the whole world shouldn't be listening to this. There's no downside unless you own a Mexican restaurant that serves a lot of chips and cheese. But other than that, it's real easy to keep the brain functioning, folks. In fact, most of the things you have to do for the brain, you have to not do. What I mean by that is you have to not do these things that we're talking about. So it's not like you have to do anything. You just have to not do something. I can't make that easier, can I? It's really easy if you have to not do something. So clumps of red blood cells together, oxygen lowers, not a good idea. You have to make sure you have proper blood supply to the brain. I know we're talking about foods, but there's always a physical component when it comes to healthcare as far as I'm concerned. And if you have a pinched nerve in the neck, let's say you have neck pain, shoulder pain, arm pain, headaches, chances are the bones in the neck are out of place and it's pinching the blood vessels that can go up to the brain. It's called the basovertebral artery. And if you pinch the basovertebral artery, you're not going to get blood supply to the brain like you should, and that can affect brain function as well. And I've been in practice well over 37 years now. I've seen, I'm going to guess, tens of thousands of patients in my career, and I hear it all the time. Dr. Joe, I came to you guys for neck pain, back pain, whatever it was, and I'm thinking better. I feel better. I have more energy. I have clearer thought. My emotions are calmed down. We're going to talk about depression later. It causes sneaky signs of depression. But amazing results by getting the body physically, for lack of a better word, tuned up. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, headaches, tingling, arm weakness, foot drop, come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. Give us the opportunity to get the nervous system working, get the digestive system working, get you on the proper food, proper diets, proper supplements, and let's see what happens. Had a patient come in the other day. She wanted to meet with me. I met with her, and she said, so what do I got to do? And she had a probably 4-inch stack of papers from other doctors. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do everything I say for 60 days. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, which I am, then I want you to stick with this the rest of your life. She said, you have my commitment for 60 days. I'll do everything you say. That was so easy. And I believe her. She's like, I'm done. I have been, all these doctors spent tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, gotten zero results. Let's try it my way. And if it doesn't work, go back to the way it used to be. So if you want to become a patient, again, in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. You can book an appointment right online, drjoe, drjoe.com. The first visit is normally $712. We've reduced that to $299. I know that's crazy, but I want you guys to have the opportunity to get started on your healthcare journey. It's a make you an offer you can't refuse, as my family would say. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first adjustment. On the second visit, going over the x-rays and a complete nutrition evaluation. Nutrition evaluation alone is $150. So come in, let's get you started for future treatment. We accept almost all insurances. If you don't have insurance, chiropractic is still the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain, back pain. So drjoe.com, book your appointment right now. All our offices are accepting new patients this coming week. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, the Atlanta area. We would love to be your doctors. And if you're ever in a car accident, folks, come see us right away. If the car is damaged, you're damaged. It's never not been that way. So, all right, other foods that are bad for your brain. I love this one. Red meat. Red meat. It's high in saturated fats. It's bad for your heart. It's bad for your brain. Limiting red meat is the key tenet to something called the MIND diet, M-I-N-D. And that's research-based eating program aimed at keeping your memory and your thinking sharp. Don't worry about protein. If you don't know what proteins to eat, go to our website, drjoe.com, type protein in the search bar. We've done several shows on protein. You don't need more protein. Unless you're a super Olympic athlete, maybe a little tiny bit more. Most of us get way more protein than we need. If you're eating the good diet of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, you should be fine. Dr. Joe's Essential Source, great source of plant-based protein. You don't need that. It's a good source, but again, you don't need a whole lot more than that. So the minimum supplements, I would say, for brain function, Super Greens and Essential Source, they're 2 powders. They taste great. Mix them together. If you still want them to taste different, add some frozen bananas and whip it up, some frozen blueberries. Folks, you got to get the Super Greens and Essential Source in your body. In fact, when we ship it out, we ship from our office. When we ship it out, Joe, the man in charge of shipping, will actually add a recipe to it now. We're adding a smoothie recipe. We're going to try to change that up every couple of months. So Super Greens and Essential Source, nitric oxide, oh my gosh. Opens up the blood vessels, gives you energy, helps the brain work better, helps performance in the romantic department in many cases, opens up the blood vessels. So Super Green Essential Source, nitric oxide, omega-3 fatty acids, so important for brain. They're essential fatty acids, which means you have to get them from an outside source. You can't produce them yourself. So omega-3 fatty acids, vital for brain function. Probiotics, the brain and the gut talk to each other. Adrenal support, helps reduce inflammation. Turmeric, great for brain function. So I would say the starter kit would be Super Greens and Essential Source, nitric oxide, very important, and adrenal support. And omega, I got to throw the omega-3s in there. So I would start there if brain function is your key. If you have anything physical, pinched nerves, muscle spasms, that can be cutting off the nerve and blood supply up into the brain. Come see us. We want to be your doctors, folks. We want you to perform the best you possibly can. I want you to perform at peak performance all day, every day, and I want you to live as long as you possibly can. So I've been doing shows now for probably 14 years. I've been lecturing for 40 years. So if you want more information, you can go to our website, drjoe.com. You can always send us questions through the website. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. A little bot pops up, type in your question. Joe, my assistant, or I will get back to you as soon as we can. Make an appointment right through the website. If you're a podcast junkie, you like what you're hearing? I guess you do, or else you wouldn't be listening. Just go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. And you can listen to our podcasts anywhere you want to be. Our website has over 2,000 hours of audio and video podcasts. And I want you to do me a favor. I give you guys a lot of information. I'm going to keep going. A lot of information. I want you to follow us on social media. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Our handle is at Dr. Joe Esposito. Because we post almost every single day. Sometimes it's silly and funny. Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's a sale on supplements. Sometimes it's special on adjustments. But we post every single day. We've even gone so far as giving away concert tickets. So you want to follow us. You don't want to miss out. You're going to miss out on a lot of things. And it's free at Dr. Joe Esposito. And if you're under VA, VA is taking care of you. If the VA refers you, Veterans Administration refers you to us, they usually pay for your visits as well. So again, drjoe.com is available 24 hours a day. Send us your questions. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. See you in the office.